Club isn't the best place to find a lover, so the bar is where I go. Me and my friends at the table doing shots, drinking fast, and then we talk slow.
Good morning, class. Today, what we are going to be discussing is about Chapter 1. And Chapter 1 will tackle about the pay model. It will talk about how the role of poorly designed compensation plans in the current economic situation. So it provides an overview of the key components of a compensation system. The definition of compensation is initially explored from the perspective of society, stockholders, the organization, and the external environment. So these three are very much important in determining the proper compensation package of a particular organization. The various forms of pay are identified and defined in this chapter. The major focus in presenting a pay model will provide a structure for understanding the compensation system as a whole. The three main components of the model are, number one, compensation objectives. So in the design of how to come up with the proper compensation package for a particular structure of an organization, it has to be followed by the vision and mission of the company. It has to be followed with the demographics of the company, structure of the employees. Number two is the policy decision that guide the way objectives will be achieved. So definitely it would be very great opportunities now for a company to be guided accordingly. And number three is the techniques that make up the pay system. So briefly, so when you say techniques, there are lots of consideration to be followed. First of all, know the industry related for you to have a benchmarking on how you go over the compensation package of each of every individual or workers of your company. Okay, so the remaining chapter in the book will examine the four policy decisions: internal alignment, the external competitiveness, the employee performance, and of course, as a whole, is the management. As well as we also consider the techniques and the new direction and the related research for it to be able to strengthen the concept of how you go over the compensation management. In the definition of compensation management, it is analyzed from several different perspectives. So the book will tell us about, number one, the society. It is perceived compensation as a measure of justice. For example, comparing earnings of women with those men of highlights potential. The pay inequities for both, the women and the men, is very glaring, in some parts of the globe and in some parts of any organization. For example, in 2007, as a practical example, among full-time workers in the United States, so we compare, and we since we are referring to a foreign reference as our book. So for practical reason, we compare it with the American or the United States companies. So in 2007, women earned 80% of what men earned. You could just imagine, it was the women who are actually making a dent in the, in terms of the pay package. 80% of what men earned, up to 62%. Even in 1979. What triggers those differences? So number one is in education. And number two is the experience. Number three is the union coverage are adjusted for. Then women would be expected to earn about 90% of what men earn at the time. But today, I think this doesn't, very minimal, I guess, are cases wherein this disparity are ongoing as of the present. So society has taken interest in eliminating such earning differentials actually, by introducing laws and regulations, policies, um, regulations aimed at eliminating the role of discrimination. So therefore, we're very strong about a lot of laws that pertains to equalities. Number three is the society has taken interest of eliminating the benefits may also be seen as a reflection of societal equity or justices. So the benefits, there are lots of laws that actually introduced right now that talks about the improvements of the benefits of a particular company. Job losses or gains are also attributed by some to the differences in compensation. And then the differences in attitudes about pay increase persist even up to this day. So therefore, so these are the things that the composite under the society definition of what compensation management is all about. Number two is the stockholders. When you say stockholders, uh, these are the part of the stakeholders of the company. So the stockholders argue over the issue of using stock plan as part of the employee compensation. So companies, right? A lot of companies actually are not considering, to have their employees, be part of the whole system. So they actually, so these are the big issues in some companies even for giving out incentives. So number two is supporters of this plan says it creates a sense of ownership that will improve performance and eventually increase stockholders' wealth. So there, so these are the things that are and then number three, opponents argue that it dilutes the stockholders' wealth. So they won't allow it. As far as organizations are concerned, the big bosses won't allow that their profit would be shared accordingly. So that's some of the controversies that abounds in some big companies right now. And then executive pay, a lot better than some of the companies that we saw, that we experienced recently. So in the local scene, so right now we're seeing a lot of controversies in the government organizations even in their compensation package. So the PhilHealth is one, so it's all over the internet. It's all over the news, So how this executive gets higher pays and benefits, as compared to the lower rank officers, of the organization. And then another one under the stockholders is the linking executive pay to performance of the company is supposed to increase the stockholders' wealth, And but not everybody, is actually this linkage does not always happen, So the executive pay to performance of the company relates to when the company is getting bigger. So definitely they get higher pay, They get higher share through the dividends and profit sharing. Next is managers. The managers view compensation as influencing their success. It is being measured in two ways. Now, number one, it is a major expense considered. Competitive pressures force managers to consider affordability of compensation decisions, since labor cost can account for more than 50% of the total cost. The financial books actually states a lot of expense in the salaries and wages. So that would constitute a lot of dent in the profit of a particular company. And then next is the managers as a means to influence employee work behaviors and organizational performance. The way people are paid affects the quality of work, the attitude towards customers, the willingness to be flexible, learning new skills even, and suggesting innovations. So if the employees are well motivated and well paid, no, in their contribution to the growth of the growth and operation of the company, definitely, a lot of ideas will come out, and the willingness to propel the company into its highest degree of profitability. Next is the employee side, no? So on the part of the employee, so they see or they view compensation in several ways, no? First is the source for financial security. So employees actually, uh, you know, engage in, they wanted to work, no, for them to be able to, and a good performance at that, for them to be able to have a secure, no, in financial, no, in their finances. And then the return in an exchange between employer and themselves. The return in terms of, getting a fair share now for both. Entitlement for being an employee of the company. So to belong is something, no, that one has to has the highest motivation for you to be able to achieve that. And then the reward for a job well done is being also considered by the employees. So employees believe that a very good performance in work would entail a very good an equal, no, benefits for them in the form of incentives, in the form of recognition, promotion, etc. Okay, so the pay influences employees' motivation and behavior, as I've said earlier, in two ways, no? Incentive and sorting effect, no? So there. And what is an incentive effect? It is the degree to which pay influences individual and aggregate, no, motivation among the employees we have at any point in a given time. What is sorting effect? Sorting effect refers to the effect pay has on the composition and the quality of the workforce. No? So therefore, if one sees, no, as an employee that this company pays well, definitely, no, it would be a magnet for the companies, no, to attract, no, good employees, no, pool. It is a result of how much and how the organization pays actually, so there. Okay. Okay, so to strengthen the definition of what compensation is all about, compensation refers to all forms of financial returns and tangible services and benefits employees receive as part of the employment relationship. Um, the forms of pay are constitutes, the total compensation returns. These are transactional in nature, meaning it includes pay received directly as cash and indirectly as benefits, health insurance, SSS, GSIS, whatever. So these are the, part of indirectly as benefits. Number two is the relational returns are psychological. A mere pat on the shoulder would give you a high motivational, incentives, no, as a worker. So again, the total compensation in the form of pay, total compensation returns, and the relational returns. The total return for work tells us about the cash compensation. So number one, the cash compensation is the base. So what are the base that we're referring to? So cash compensation, an employer pays for work performed. Equal cash to equal pay, to equal work rendered by an employee. So it reflects the value of work or skills and generally ignores differences attributed to individual employees. Salary refers to pay, to pay given to employees who are exempt from regulations of the Fair Labor Standards Act. Non-exempt have their pay calculated on an hourly wage. So remember, here in the Philippines, you have the 15 and the 30th, and then some factories actually are being paid, workers are being paid in an hourly basis or an output basis, per unit base. So this is the cost compensation base pay. Next is the merit pay or cost of living adjustments. So what are these? It involves periodic adjustment to base wages based on changes in what other employees are paying. Changes in overall cost of living are being adjusted even based on the regulated government policies and procedures. Okay, so the merit increases are given as increment to the base pay based on recognition of the past work behavior. Cost of living adjustments, however, includes increases to everyone regardless of performance, so across the board. Okay. Now, next is the incentives. What is an incentive? Incentive is a tie pay increases directly to performance characteristic of incentives, meaning they do not increase base wage and must be earned each pay period. And then number 2, the potential size of incentive payment will be known beforehand. Incentives also referred to as a variable pay. So it can be given it can be given in different pay packages depending on the performance. Long-term incentives, however, may be short or long-term. So long-term incentives are intended to focus employee efforts on multi-year results and are in the form of stock ownership or option to buy stock or at specified advantageous price. These are the differences amongst the three. Next is the benefits, income protection. So what constitute the income protection? It includes transactional returns, meaning employees transactional returns or some income protection programs are legally required. They help protect employees from financial risk inherent in our daily lives. So things happens. Just like what is happening right now in our pandemic. So some companies are actually at a loss right now. So on how to deal with the losses that are incurring. The company are incurring at the present time. So the benefits as an income protection are they help protect employees from the financial risk in terms of medical insurance. The retirement program should be dealt with accordingly. Life insurance is a must right now. And the saving plans are common benefits under the income protection. So these are being planned accordingly. Allow work and life balances. So these are also part of the incentive and benefits. So that includes program which help employees better integrate their work and their life responsibilities. So a lot of our employees are obligated to fend for the families. So therefore, it has to have a life balance. The categories: time away from work, vacation on duty, access to service to meet specific needs. Now, for example, the financial planning, flexible work arrangements, and everything. So I remember some of the organizations are actually coming up with a program wherein mothers can bring their child in the office, and they provide nannies in a separate room for the mothers to actually perform duties in work. So these are one of the incentives that they are getting. Allowances is another one. So the allowances often grow out of whatever is in short supply. Therefore, housing, transportation allowances are frequently part of the pay package in some companies. No, so this has a great contribution on the part of the employees, wherein the most specifically the minimum wage earners. No, so company right now come up with a program wherein they extend help by giving benefits and allowances. Next is the total earnings opportunities present value of a stream of earnings. Meaning, up to this point, compensation has been treated as something paid or received at a moment in time. The present value perspective shifts the comparison of today's initial offers to consideration of future bonuses, merit increases, and promotion. The relational returns from work, meaning it's a non-financial returns from work, have a substantial effect on employees' behavior. So for example, the relational returns, meaning recognition and status of a particular employee. The employment security is one. The challenging work, opportunities to learn new trade and skills. The personal satisfaction from successfully challenging work, facing new challenges, and teaming with great co-workers is one area of a very good example of relational returns. Next is the organization as a network of returns. So how do we interpret that? It is a useful view of an organization as network of returns created by all different forms of pay, including the total compensation and relational returns. So both ways will work hand in hand altogether. And the challenge is to design this network so that it will help the organization to succeed. What is a pay model? A pay model serves as both a framework for examining current pay systems and a guide for most of the text. It contains three basic building blocks. So what are these? Number one is the compensation objectives. So what is the policies behind it? What is the vision and mission that entails the objectives of designing compensation? Second is the policies that form the foundation of the compensation system. It has to be strengthened with policies and regulations on which the vision and mission dictates the direction of the company. Next is the techniques that make up the compensation system. So techniques like comparing it, benchmarking, comparing it to the different related industries, and so on and so forth. So there. The compensation objectives will shape the pay system and will serve as a standard for evaluating the pay system in itself. The basic objective will include the efficiency, the fairness, the ethics, the compliance with laws and regulation. The policies and the techniques are the means to reach objectives. When you say efficiency, it focuses on improving performance, increasing quality, delighting the customers and stockholders, and controlling labor costs at any given time. Fairness, what does it mean? It is the fundamental objective of every corporation. It attempts to ensure the treatment for all the employees, recognizing both employee contribution, employee needs, procedural fairness, which refers to the process used to make pay decisions. Compliance is another one. That means conforming to various federal or state or government compensation laws and regulation to follow. Later on, we'll be tackling about Medtronic. Is a company, and the Medtronic and Whole Foods is a company that talks about, and there are a lot of cases about ethics. Now, Ethics. Ethics means the organization cares about how its results are achieved. Uh, Managing pay sometimes creates ethical dilemmas because of its importance. And some compensation professionals and consultants remain silent about during ethical misconduct and outright malfeasance. The pay objectives even guide the design of the pay system and serve as standards for judging the success of the pay system. Basing on one of the Enron as a company's ethics statements is the four policy choices which they are adhering. So number one, their four policy choices is the internal alignment. So it refers to the comparisons amongst jobs or skill levels inside a single organization. And another one is the pay for different jobs in the organization should reflect the relative similarities and differences in content of work or skills required for the job, as well as differences in the relative contribution of work or skills to the overall organization. Next is the pay relationship within the organization affect all the three objectives of the compensation. Number two, policy choices is the external competitiveness. It refers to compensation relationship on the external to the organization, comparison with competitors even, and in addition to the decision of how much pay, external competitiveness also includes the pay mixes, pay mix. Since employees make comparison with others doing similar jobs or with others possessing similar skills or competencies outside the organization, pay must be sufficient enough to attract and retain and motivate the workforces. At the same time, the employees or the employer rather must control labor cost to the organization's prices of products or services. Allow the organization to be competitive in the related industry. The employee, number three is important, the employee contribution. Emphasis placed on the employee contribution is the key policy decision. It directly affects employees' attitude and work behavior. Performance-based pay affects fairness in that employees need to understand the basis for judging performance in order for them to believe that their pay is fair and just for everyone. The fourth policy choices is the management. The management refers to, in our definition, to the policies related to management of the pay system as a whole. Management means ensuring that the right people get the right pay for achieving the right objectives in the right way. And then at the same time, the traditional focus on administering various techniques is being replaced by more strategic thinking, managing pay as part of the business in itself. Pay techniques. The pay techniques, however, is defined being the techniques tie the four basic policies to the pay objectives. So it binds them all together for them to be able to have a strong foundation on how you come up with the pay techniques. Uncounted variation in pay techniques exist. Many are going to be discussed as we go further exploring the chapters of our book. So there. Okay class, as we go along with our classes later on, we will be discussing a lot about the succeeding chapters of the book. Um, Now, later, I will be giving out some review questions for you to answer in a written form. So just wait for it. And for now, I have just finished my discussion about Chapter 1. And if there is any concern about it, you may just have, in our discussions in the succeeding meetings, will be welcome to everyone. So do not hesitate to ask questions if you have some clarifications to make. And I would appreciate it very much if you do so. So for now, I want you to stay safe. And as we go along our classes online, uh, yeah, I wish you a safe journey to the conduction of our classes. In today's exercises of getting into an online class is very challenging for everyone, from the student side, the parent side, the professor side, and the management. The chunky check that we value as an institution is actually doing a lot of things for us to be successful in our online studies and making the best result out of this. So thank you very much, class, and I look forward to seeing you again in our next session. Have a good day.